Your brain quietly deletes almost everything that happened before you were 3. Not some of it. Almost all of it. The faces, the bottles, the first steps, the tantrums. Gone. And the strange part is, you were awake for all of it. You laughed. You cried. You learned an entire language. You learned how to walk, how to chew, how to recognize your own name. And yet, when you try to look back at it, there's nothing there. Just a soft blank wall where your earliest years should be. Scientists have a name for this missing chapter. They call it infantile amnesia, and it happens to almost every human on the planet. The question isn't really why don't you remember being a baby? The question is stranger than that. Why does your brain choose to forget the most formative years of your entire life? Not what you were doing back then, but what your body and brain are quietly doing now to keep that door closed. Because here's the thing. You were not a blank little potato just lying there. Your 1-year-old brain was on fire. It was building neurons faster than at any other point in your life. It was wiring up vision, language, movement, emotion all at once. If anything, baby you was learning harder than adult you ever will. So why doesn't any of that brilliance come with a memory attached? To answer that, you have to get to know a tiny, curled-up part of your brain called the hippocampus. It sits deep in the middle of your head, roughly behind each ear, and it looks a little like a seahorse. That's actually what its name means. The hippocampus is the part of your brain that takes a moment and files it as a memory you can revisit later. Without it, things still happen to you. You just can't go back and rewatch them. And in a newborn, the hippocampus is, to put it kindly, still under construction. The wiring is there, but the filing cabinet isn't built yet. So your baby brain is recording experiences in a kind of rough, smudgy way, but it doesn't yet have a stable system to store them as scenes you can play back. Think of it like trying to save a video on a phone that hasn't finished installing its software. The camera is rolling. The file just never lands anywhere you can open later. Right now, do this for a second. Try to remember your second birthday. Not a photo of it, not a story your family told you, the actual moment from the inside. Most likely, you got a foggy nothing. And if you did get something, there's a strong chance your brain politely reconstructed it from a photograph or a family story and handed it back to you as a memory. That's not a flaw in you. That's just how memory works once the system finally comes online. Here's where it gets weirder. For a long time, scientists assumed babies simply weren't forming memories at all. Newer research, though, suggests baby brains may actually be forming memories, and then those memories get overwritten or buried as the brain matures. In other words, the door might not be empty behind it. The door might just be locked. Studies in young animals and more recent work on human infants hint that the early hippocampus is laying down traces of experience. Those traces just don't survive the storm of growth that comes next. And that storm is the real twist of this whole story. Because the reason you can't remember being a baby might be the same reason you were such a fast learner in the first place. Your baby brain was in a phase neuroscientists sometimes call hyperplasticity. It was making new connections at a wild, almost reckless pace. And just as importantly, it was pruning old ones. Snip, snip, snip. Every day, your brain was choosing which wires to keep and which to quietly cut. This is how you learned at lightning speed which sounds were language and which were just noise, which face was mom, which shape was a hand. But all that rewiring comes at a cost. The very circuits that might have stored a specific memory of, say, your first taste of birthday cake were getting rerouted to do something more useful, like understand the word cake. In a sense, your baby self traded the memory of the moment for the skill the moment taught you. It's a brutal deal, but it's a smart one. Evolution didn't design your brain to hold on to cute snapshots. It designed your brain to keep you alive and functional in the world you actually live in. And to do that, baby, you needed to learn faster than baby. You needed to reminisce. Pause for a second and let that sink in. Your earliest years aren't missing. They're built into you. Every step you take, every word you speak, every flinch from a hot stove, that is your baby memory. You're literally wearing it. Quick question for you while we're here. What is the earliest moment you genuinely think you remember? Not from a photo, not from a family story, but from inside your own head. Drop it in the comments and roughly how old you were. It's one of those things that's strangely fun to compare because almost no one's first memory lands before age 3, and most cluster somewhere between 3 and 5. Okay, back to the mystery, because there's another piece to this puzzle, and it's hiding inside language. Watch what happens around the age you start forming lasting memories. It tends to line up suspiciously well with the age you start mastering full sentences. That isn't a coincidence. Memory and language are deeply tangled. When you remember something, you're often quietly narrating it to yourself. I was in the kitchen, the light was on, my brother said something. Without words, you can still feel a memory, but it's much harder to file it as a scene you can replay on demand. And babies don't have those words yet. They have feelings, sensations, faces, smells, but not the narrative scaffolding to lock those moments into a story. So even the experiences that do leave a trace tend to drift, because there's no sentence wrapped around them to hold them in place. Then there's the sense of self. To remember something as a thing that happened to me, you first need a stable idea of me. That sense of being a continuous person, the same one who woke up yesterday and will wake up tomorrow, takes time to develop. Researchers often test this with something called the mirror test. Somewhere around 18 months to 2 years, toddlers start recognizing that the kid in the mirror is them. Before that moment, the world is happening, but there isn't quite a clear narrator inside it. And without a narrator, your memories don't have anyone to belong to. So picture all of these things layered together. A hippocampus that's still wiring itself up. A brain that's pruning connections faster than it's saving them. A mind without enough language to caption its own experiences. A self that hasn't fully arrived yet. It's not that nothing happened. It's that there wasn't yet a you with the equipment to log it as a memory you could one day reopen. Here's the part that quietly blows people's minds. There is growing evidence that those lost years still shape you in ways you can feel. The way you respond to comfort. The way you react to a certain tone of voice. The way a particular smell can wrap around you like a warm blanket for reasons you can't explain. That's sometimes called implicit memory. And unlike the kind you can describe in words, implicit memory may start very early. You don't remember being held, but your nervous system remembers being held. You don't remember a lullaby, but your body remembers the rhythm. Scientists are still debating exactly how much of this carries through and how stable it really is, so it's fair to call this an ongoing question, not a settled fact. But the direction the research keeps pointing in is the same. Your earliest years aren't lost. They are dissolved into who you are. So if you ever feel a little sad that you can't picture being 2, here's a gentler way to think about it. Your baby memories didn't get thrown away. They got promoted. They returned into the foundation that you now stand on every single day. The very fact that you can read this sentence, in this language, in this voice in your head, is the receipt for everything baby you learned and then forgot. The next time you find yourself trying to peer back into that misty first chapter, you can stop straining. You're not missing those years. You were built out of them. That faint feeling of safety in your own bed, that pull toward certain sounds, that strange comfort in a stranger's kind voice, that's the part that survived. Not as a picture you can look at, but as a quiet pattern humming inside you right now as you breathe. If this rewired something in your head, hit the like button so it can reach more curious brains, and subscribe to Bodyquirk for more friendly science about the weird everyday things your body and mind are secretly up to. And tell me in the comments, do you have one early memory that feels suspiciously vivid, almost too clear to be real? There's a good chance your brain quietly built that one from photos and stories, and the next video is going to dig into exactly how it pulls that off, and why it's so convincing. Until then, take a slow breath, look around the room, and notice how naturally everything makes sense to you. A baby version of you did all the work to make this moment feel ordinary. That's not nothing. That's everything.